So for the most part, I have been avoiding Transformers Cyberverse as a toy line because my first experience with it was that Wave 1 Bumblebee, because shouldn't Bumblebee toys always be good? And then it turned out like every other Bumblebee toy, so I didn't buy anything after that. But my buddy Griff did tell me that this Soundwave apparently came out not terrible, so I want to see exactly how good it turned out to be. So, Cyberverse Soundwave Warrior class version, standard Transformer aka, yeah, we have a nice little armored truck mode for the vehicle with very sparse detailing, which is pretty typical of the line, and that is a little bit disappointing. So, all blue plastic all the way around, a little bit of gray showing through here and there, black plastic for the wheels, and as far as deco goes, all you really get is black on the windshield, which is done a little bit sloppy in that the trim is the same black color as the windows, and then the mesh on the side. And that's pretty much it. So, aside from just a little bit of red here on the top cannon, everything else is just pretty bog standard blue, which is really disappointing because there is a lot of nice sculpted detail going on in the toy. You've got a lot of little tiny panel details, a lot of little grooves here and there. You've got a grill up front, which is half gray, half blue, and then the bumper, which is going for a 5-tone motif here. Yeah, this is just a little spot of paint, a little blue here, little gray here, would make such a world of difference, but we don't get that because these are produced pretty cheap these days. Yeah, and we don't have Takara to bail us out. Takara's just doing identical toys these days, so they only have to do one production run of any given toy. So we have no alternative except to learn how to customize, and well, I can't I customize way too many toys already to actually customize a Transformer. But yeah, it's perfectly standard, perfectly okay armored truck. On the rear, we do have a very familiar detail for Soundwave. That's worth noting, but we can't really do anything with it here because the gimmick is locked. We'll get to that in a bit. So yeah, pretty standard, it rolls, that's what a vehicle does, and that's pretty much all he does in this mode. So let's see what the robot mode turned out like. First off, I'm going to get these undone just to get them out of the way. That way flipping over the legs is a little bit easier. So pretty standard here. What I like is all the sides folding up and fitting flush to create the torso. That's a nice little use of panel details that actually gets rid of the extra wheels. So he comes out a little bit cleaner, right? Moving all this over to create the pelvis section, split that. There's your legs. And the head is actually a pretty clever little bit of engineering. So we fold out the gray panel, which really should be blue in order to hide it better, but whatever. And then rotate all the way around and the head gets revealed. That's a clever little touch. I actually really like that transformation element. But yeah, he's a pretty quick and easy transformation as you'd expect from the Cyberverse Warrior series. And in robot mode, yeah, he's pretty good looking. The proportions are spot on. He's got a lot of good detail and bulk in the right spots. Inexpensive as the toy may be, at least it has some things going in the parts where it counts. The head sculpt is fairly fierce for a Soundwave. I think we're getting to that point where it's kind of obvious that the Decepticon logo was based on Soundwave's head, so they're trying to stylize him a little bit more, give it a little bit more attitude so it doesn't look exactly the same. In either case, it's not a bad head sculpt. It's definitely a more fierce Soundwave, but it's still recognizable as him. The blue definitely helps that. So yeah, all the blue plastic is given away a little bit more gray. So we get some on the thighs and the forearms, hands, etc. Gives him just enough color balance, just enough to break up the blue and keep him from looking monotonous. We get some extra paint details going on as well, with the yellow and the gold now, as the chest details looking very familiar, with the play buttons, the pause buttons that have no function here because he's not a tape deck anymore, but you know how that goes. We also have these details on the side. In the show, these are bright white, but I actually like the gray, so it subdues the details a little bit. And I like the engraved sound waves on both sides. I like that they're different. I like that it's not just the same sound wave repeated. Or maybe it is. Yeah, never mind, it actually is. Well, never mind, I take that back. That is now a criticism. It's just the same sound wave mirrored. Boo. So, as far as toys go, what can I say? Well, back. He's got a huge backpack, so that's a deterrent against him. Yeah, so that does make him quite a bit back heavy, and if the joints aren't great on yours, that could cause a problem. The joints on mine are just okay. I could really stand for them to be a bit tighter than they are. The arms are okay. It's the hips where things are just a little bit more loose than I would like, which does kind of limit posability. Also limiting posability is the fact that his heels aren't great. So he does get some posability going, but because he's so back heavy, there's only so far you can go before, yeah, he kind of goes out of control. And now this is where either ankle tilt or a waist joint would come in handy to counterbalance that. You don't have that on this toy because it's a Cyberverse figure. Articulation is not the biggest priority here. So ball jointed shoulders, which work pretty well, 90-degree elbow joint, and then ball joints of the hips, and a deep knee bend. But that's all you really get. So he's just posable enough to be playable as an action figure. He's not going to get into anything dynamic, and he's not really going to get into anything that's going to, I don't know, be all that exciting. Enough to be interesting, but not exciting. And it's mostly the backpack's fault. Man, I could really, I love the design. I could really use some kind of bicep thigh swivel, something, anything extra, but no, it's a little bit too limited. And part of that is because this is, like all Cyberverse figures, a gimmick toy. Now, I will admit, we've gotten to this point in the review, and we haven't really dealt with any major issue with the gimmick aside from being really back heavy. And there are times when I'm willing to actually sacrifice some function as an action figure if the gimmick looks and works really, really well. To activate his, we twist the rear section and the cannon on his shoulder, and out strikes Laserbeak, done up in a translucent magenta plastic and looking really fierce again. The eyes have been painted red, beak is painted silver, so you get that detail, his character coming across. And if you can look, it's hard to tell, but all of his G1 details are there. He's got the guns on the back, he's got the wings in the proper position, and everything has a streak to it, so it looks like he's flying out. He's got like anime speed lines going. That's really cool. Also, really cool detail. So the hinge that connects the front door to Soundwave is actually unpainted. This is all painted translucent pink plastic, but they left the hinge parts unpainted and the parts that support Laserbeak once it's out, so it actually looks like his legs. That's actually a really, really clever detail that it's kind of easy to miss if you're not paying attention, but that's actually a really cool thing to do. Gives them a more dynamic and complete look. Now, he's not removable, of course. It's just an action attack gimmick, but it's one of the best ones I've seen in the line, because not only does it play to Soundwave, it looks and works really cool. So that's that. So click back in, make sure that's undone so it'll actually lock into place, close back up, ready to go again. That simple. And just like that, we've reviewed a Cyberverse toy on the TJOmega YouTube channel. Soundwave's one of the better ones I have experienced. Granted, I haven't experienced many, but most of them have been disappointments, and it's not always the gimmick that lets me down. Sometimes it's just basic function of the figure. Soundwave himself comes with most of the faults of the toy line. He's lacking a lot of paint. His robot mode in the show has so many more details than this. He does have quite a few areas hollowed out, his forearms in particular, thighs as well. So he does come across as a little bit cheap. But then again, this is a toy that retails for only $15, 12 at my Walmart. So hey, good savings. But you get what you pay for. At least in this case, the gimmick works really well. And in the Cyberverse line, that does have to take a little bit of priority. So he's one of the better examples from that toy line. That's about the most I can say.